While y'all are here listening, I cannot play brand new beats that are unheard of and unheard by anyone. Can't play the new tracks from the new album. But what I can do is stop everything I am doing and announce that the time is now 5:12 p.m. I would like to welcome you to the garage, home of the worldwide mechanics. I'm your lead mechanic, Mr. Mac. Do me a favor, come on in here, get them coveralls, get the tool belt, let's get this thing on the rack and see where we're at. Hit the like, hit the subs. That's how you show your boy love. That what's going on? What's happening, folks? All the mechanics, please come on in here, get on in here. Let's get this discussion started because again, we're here for a good time, not a long time. I want to talk to y'all about a little back and forth I just recently had, super recently. Um, as in like yesterday afternoon. That continued over into today. Um, Long story short, checked in and tooled up. I like how that sounds. Tooled up. I like how that sounds. Push button. Producer. Salute to you. Dwayne. Salute. D Dub. What up? Thank y'all for pulling up. I don't know if I thank y'all enough for just deciding to come in and chop it up with me while I go over the nonsense and the up and downs of living this life I picked. Anyway, got into a back and forth. This gentleman online, he was basically giving out advice, and he's got Park in the rig. B74 is welcome whenever she can show up. Check this out. I got into a back and forth with this guy who was giving out advice online. Something like this, which is crazy, but I don't know if he's in the music industry. His entire piece of advice was don't provide a safe space for artists who are washed to come back around and work with you once you start having your moment. And you know, it's not a I can't quote him verbatim, but he was like, they're leeching off you. It's not a fair exchange, and they want now that they're on the decline and they're this, and you're having your moment. They're washed. Don't they didn't want to work with you when you were on the come up. Don't deal with them now. And I chirped in like I'm not sure if this is about what my comment was basically. I'm not sure if this is about the music industry or not. So, forgive me if I'm wrong, but if it is about the music industry, this is very bad advice. This piss poor advice. Um, you should always keep the door to opening to working with anyone who's established, regardless of what. I won't say regardless of the status of their career, because that can definitely prove to be like a help or a hindrance. But if you're hotter than they are at that very moment, working with somebody who's like long term established with a long term fan base never hurts. And holding on to gripes because they wouldn't work with you specifically when you weren't up, that's dumb. That's dumb. Holding on to the gripe is dumb. You can decide not to work with them or not. Um, John, what up? Uh, what was this question? What do you think about Artist Apocalypse by AI? I think I think you should check out the joint that I did the day before yesterday, maybe or Saturday. I think you should check that one out because I spoke on this. B74, what up, sis? Good to see you. Good to see you. Um, do you think a new artist has to earn the respect to work with a great, or does it not really matter? I think this is all subject. I think it depends on the artist, right? I think if here's the problem. Here's what a lot of people won't tell you that a few things that happen behind the scenes that a lot of artists won't tell you. Number one, you could see a new artist. and think they're fire and decide you want to work with them. They'll turn their nose up to you because as the established artist, maybe you're not having the super hot moment that they're having right now, but you just got put on their radar. They just saw you along with everybody else. And now that, oh, yo, he's dope. I'd like to do something with that dude. I'd like to work with him. And you're holding it against them because they didn't discover you before everybody else did. Or you were one of the hundreds of thousands of people who asked them for a collab and they didn't have the time, energy, or presence of mind to say yes to you. So now you're holding that gripe. Stupid and stupid. Two, there are tons of established artists who have gone out of their way to not only work with or mentor, but even sign up and coming artists and try to put them onto better situations. Here's what I'll tell you that a lot of other people don't. And I think it's kind of appropriate that I'm wearing this because I've gone to sign artists and put them in better situations, put them in better positions. And what I've heard back to my face, exorbitant amounts of money that they wanted to sign that they had no chance of paying back. They didn't care whether they were going to be able to recoup this amount of money or not. They just wanted it. I had one artist tell me, like, how you haven't even offered to fly me out to Cali and put me up in the house so I could record my album. This dude had never made, fly out to Cali money with his music, let alone fly out to Cali, stay in a house for a couple of months and have somebody else, and record an album kind of money. But that's what he wanted. Hit the like, hit the sub, hit the like, hit the sub, hit the like, hit the sub. Um, he really expected to see that happen, and he wasn't alone. He was vocal about his. But I've dealt with artists who wanted all kinds of like just ridiculous amounts of money off the rip. They wanted all their bills paid. They wanted their car notes paid. They wanted baby mama payments made, paternity payments made, all from, the label with no kind of here's how I plan on paying that money back. They, in their minds, the money was just supposed to fall out of the sky. But the second we expressed any interest in being paid for the work and services we were doing, we were the evil record label, and we were bloodsuckers, and we were this, that, and the third. It was crazy. It was crazy. So I see that also happening with established artists, not just record labels, but like established artists. They'll get next to an artist and say, "Yo, I like his music. I want to work with him." A couple of things happen. One, the first hurdle, they'll meet the artist in person, and the dude's a dickhead, or he's entitled, or he's obnoxious, or he's rude, or he's arrogant. Like his attitude is just nasty, and who wants to sign up to be around somebody like that? He's conceited, like he's delusional, he's narcissistic, and you don't want to sign. And these guys don't want to sign up to be around somebody like that, no, regardless of how talented he is. Like, I'll pass. And then it's, oh, you blackballing me. No, bro, your personality precedes you. People don't want to be around somebody who's difficult to be around. You are a dickhead. So they're cool on that. They're cool on rocking with you when this is your attitude. But let's say they get past the attitude. Let's say the guy shows up and he actually has a pleasant attitude, and their the vibe is good, and it's okay. Well, let's see what we can do. Let's figure something out. Now comes a bunch of phone calls and a bunch of entitlement. Yo, why don't you let me open for you? Why don't you let me do this? Why don't you let me do that? Why don't you I want to pull up to the studio. But meanwhile, the established artist is trying to work on his music, and this new artist is now barging his way into the recording session and wants to be around all the time. Okay, well, bro, I can't. I'm trying to finish my joint, but let me do this. Like, what do you have going on? And I've just seen so many different ways where it goes left. And it's so much deeper than you didn't want to work with me till I got hot. Well, first of all, who wanted to work with you when you weren't hot? Like seriously, who was beating down your door when you were just making music out of your basement or you were just doing a couple of shows and people hadn't discovered you yet? Who wanted to work with you before it was established that you were actually pretty good? And not just a flash in the pan. Do you know how many artists come out with like a good single or a dope little moment and then they vanish right after because they realize they weren't cut out for this business or they don't like the deals or they don't have the disposition to deal with folks the way they need to in order to be established? And an established artist sees that and be like, oh man, he's not gonna make it. He doesn't have the attitude. He's not cut out for this business. And they come and go. But imagine you stopped everything you did and threw a cosign behind this guy and he just vanished. I can name you a bunch of names of a bunch of artists whose songs you heard who you haven't heard from since then. Because come to find out, they really just wanted to be hood famous. They didn't want to be good. They just wanted to be famous. And established artists run into people like that all the time. Guys who want to be like famous but not really good all the time. It happens way more than you might guess. Um, B74, you're calling it like we have a lot of people telling you that these guys, they're not giving back to the youth and they're not reaching back out. But bro, what did you do to earn that reach back? A couple people in your hood think you good. Okay, I mean for that tomorrow. They think you great, but like now what? There's way more steps, and you don't want to hear that part. And see, I'm starting to project the frustration from my situations onto this conversation, which should tell you how deep these frustrations really ran for me. Established artists too. I've seen it from and okay, now let's advocate for the other side of it. I've also seen set established artists go get an up and coming artist and try and work with them. Here's the problem: hit the likes, hit the subs, hit the likes, hit the subs, hit the likes, hit the subs. Um, Here's what ends up happening: established artist goes to help out unestablished artists, and the established artist is not an executive. They have no leadership quality whatsoever. They don't know how to manage people. They don't know how to manage expectations. They don't nip the red flags in the bud as they start happening. They're random. They're haphazard. They don't have any form of real forms of communication other than trust me, bro, and do what I say and not what I do. And they don't communicate very well. They're not telling this guy, the new artist, the entire plan, which if you're working with a new artist, you have to have the entire plan laid out for them. You can't tell them a piece of the plan because their minds are not going to stop working. They're going to take that one little piece you gave them and imagine an entire scenario where they're supposed to be doing one, two, three, X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C. So there's no way you can give them a piece. You have to give them the entire plan because otherwise they'll start freestyling. And they'll freestyle all over the plan and mess it up completely because they thought they were doing the right thing. Hence the babysitting. Hence the managing expectations is one of the wildest ones because you have to let this dude know. I saw a quote from a very famous artist that he gave to his entourage. I'm not going to name him because he's because he's a dickhead, but a complete dickhead. But at least he said this. He told his entire entourage up front, "I'm gonna be rich before any of you see any real money. And when I have more money than I know what to do with, you'll all be millionaires." He was absolutely right. The people who broke out when they heard that, when they heard "I'm gonna be rich before you see any money," when those people who broke out are kicking themselves because the people who hung in there actually became millionaires. Here's the other side of it though. Some people will give you that and don't really mean it. They'll say, "I'm going to be rich before you see any money." And then When it's time for you to be a millionaire, they decide they'd rather just keep your money. See, there's enough evil to go over. There's enough bad and evil to go around in all of these situations and circumstances because no one side has the monopoly on being dickheads. But this whole narrative that, don't work with nobody established when they're ice cold and you're having your moment, that's just dumb. These people have like niche fan bases who, if you endear yourself to, bro, are you kidding me? That's stupid. Plus, why if you respected the culture, why wouldn't you want to work with somebody who paved the way for you? Unless you're just here for the money. And if you're just here for the money, just say that. And I'll dismiss everything else. If you're only around for the bread, I got you. Just tell me that now. D-Dub, labels do have a part in it, but they're not in this by themselves. If you ever read the book How to Make a Slave by Willie Lynch, the slave, you inject a little bit of poison, and if you do it in the right way, the parents will project that poison into the offspring and keep the system going. The system becomes self-perpetuating, and that's where we are now. We have executives sitting behind desks who are failed artists who, because they failed in a very specific way, they're now hell-bent on making sure that everyone else fails in that exact same specific way. If you don't do it exactly the way they do it, they're entrenched, they're unmovable. You can't change their minds, and they're not open to anything new, anything progressive. That's a wrap. That's a dub. On the other side, you have artists who only hear the highlights. They only hear the sexy version of the story, and they want to live that version. In any kind of uh anytime the story veers from that version they know, they're dead in it. They don't want to get down. Nah, you trying to jerk me, you trying to play me, because they only know the highlights. Because they only know the highlights, that's how they give it up. That's what ends up happening. They only know the highlights. So if you go outside of the high, and their highlights, their research comes from the sexy part of the story that the artist who's being interviewed told them. The artist who's being interviewed didn't tell them all the not so sexy things that happened behind the scenes. The times that they had to open for like 12 people, the time that they signed a messed up contract, but they did it in order to get their foot in the door for this specific situation to happen. They never tell them about the setbacks. They never tell them about like the dirt that they did. The time they cut somebody's throat, or the time they jerked somebody out of some money, or ran off on the plug, or didn't fulfill an obligation and kept the bread, or asked for a collab and then never turned in the verse. And that's why the OG don't deal with him. Not because he don't like him as a person, but because he's unprofessional as hell. And I can't trust him. Or the time they brought him in the cypher and little dude tried to screw somebody's daughter, or screw somebody's wife, or screw somebody's nephew. Zero etiquette, zero respect, came in the studio wilding out, and now they don't want to deal with him. What's wrong with you? Somebody gonna end up beating blood out of this little dude. Are you nuts? The hell is your problem? Or the time you came to the studio and brought like 15 people with you. Why did you show up here with 15 people that I don't know to my private studio session where I might have food, a woman, jewelry? Like, I got all this stuff, and you showed up. I invited you. Why didn't you just bring you, your man, and maybe a cameraman? Or maybe your cameraman won't stop letting the camera fly during the closed off part of the session. Or you keep trying to talk business in front of strangers, or you keep trying to talk strangers in front of business. Like, bro, there are so many different reasons. There's so many different reasons why these two sections of the music business avoid each other. It's not good. I'm not telling you it's good, but what I am telling you, it's people being people. But if your goal is to be here for a long time, this whole don't work with the OGs when you having your moment, B74, people will try to read your mind before they attempt to read the room. You are 100% correct. But that we've convinced them that they need to be delusional to the point of eternity. So when they come into a room, reading the room is not what they're gonna do. It's all about me, and that's what we end up dealing with. And if you're an established artist, and you've paid all the dues and you've gotten to where you've gotten, however you've gotten there, the last thing you want is somebody walking in the room disrupting your peace or needing to babysit somebody. Managing expectations, I can tell you, as a former label head, I can tell you that managing expectations is a full-time job because these new artists come up with something new that they swear they're supposed to be doing every day. They every day there's another new thing that they saw online or their favorite artist told them that they went through when they were coming up. And now as the exec, they want to know from you how come they're not doing that. They don't. I'll tell you how nuanced this is, and it seems so simple until I say it out loud. They'll come to me with a story from said favorite artist, Jay-Z, Nas, Jadakiss, whoever, Drake. They'll come to me today with a story that Drake told them and ask them how come I'm not doing that for them. And when I try to point out, right? When I try to point out something as commonsensical as, bro, the story he told you was from 6 years ago. The industry is not the same 6 years as it was 6 years ago. Why would you think that that story still applies to 2026 when he gave you a story from 2020? That's the most common sense thing I can think of. And it's right there. It's right there. It's right there. Why do you think something that happened in 2020 can still happen in 2026 as if the industry doesn't move and shift almost every 6 months, basically every year, definitely every 2 years? Why are you bringing a 6-year-old situation to me now because your hero told you what he went through? If he didn't go through that in the last 48 hours, you shouldn't be talking to me. And he's not in your position 48 hours later. You two are not in the same position. You're not in the same boat. You don't know what he sold, gave away, did in order to get the look he's talking about that existed 6 years ago. Y'all don't even make the same kind of music. You're not even interested in his fan base. Why are you talking to me about what he did? This is the level of expectation. These are the kinds of expectations that a good exec who really believes in the talent of the artist in mind, who that we're discussing. This is the level of expectation management he has to be able to do, because otherwise that artist is going to buck against everything you put in front of them. If they think there's something else they're supposed to be doing that's more important than the thing you're telling them to do, they're going to buck. If you start telling them, listen, here's a list of DJs. I need you to um I need you to call each one of these numbers and do a drop for each one of these DJs. There's like maybe 50 or 60 DJs on this list. You need to call up and do drops for all of them. Yo, why I gotta come on now? This shit is corn. Don't nobody even listen to drops. No, you don't listen to drops. You don't know anything about doing drops. You've never been asked to do drops before because nobody's cared about you giving them a drop. But the fact is, this DJ will be spinning your name every time they want to go do a drop. But the fact that you don't want to do a drop, now you've made yourself, what's the good word I'm looking for? A bozo in the eyes of this DJ who could be putting you in different position. You, you, the DJ wants to hear from you. Ah, but why I gotta do it now? He didn't want me when I wasn't. Nobody wanted you when you wasn't. You didn't even want you when you wasn't. You're hot now. You're having a moment. Do the work that keeps you hot. Go sustain yourself with these DJs who play your record. Why is this an issue? Why do I have to beg you to do something for the betterment of your career? This is your career. And who told you that you not doing something, I should be all right with that? Just. Glad you can make it. Glad you can make it. Shout out to all the mechanics in the room. One time for the worldwide mechanics. Thank y'all for pulling up. Thank you for the likes. I'm seeing the likes fly. Hit the subs, hit the likes. We're gonna keep this party going. I'm not gonna beat y'all in the head. I promise. I've already been chopping it up too long, way longer than I'm into. Um, Bottom line, anyone asking you to wall yourself off from established artists without a good enough reason, without a good reason that doesn't, that isn't based in like ego. If the reason is based in ego and hubris and arrogance, dead that and dead that person who's telling you that. That's a dumb thing to do. That's a dumb reason. Now, if the person is like accused of something crazy, domestic violence or graping somebody or like some kind of like stealing or really crazy snitching or really ill disloyalty, then yes, you don't want your brand necessarily mixed up with somebody who's done something heinous and crazy. Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. Shout out to, I've steered artists away. I've worked with artists who had big collab records with really dope artists who just so happen to be doing some really effed up stuff. And maybe they're in jail for it, or maybe they're, on the run for it. And it's like, yo, should I put this record out? No, dude, no. No, you do not want to do that. How about we have enough headaches on our own. You don't need to like volunteer to take on their headaches. Why would you do that? Oh, and how about this? The established artist wants to stay an established artist, babysitting a walking headache who doesn't want to do anything but spend money all day and just live the good life and go to all the parties. Taking time out of taking time from your schedule, studio time out of your schedule, meetings with attorneys out of your schedule, meetings with accountants out of your schedule, taking all that stuff out of your schedule to go babysit this art. Yeah, that's a headache. Spending money on them, that's a headache. And then when you start talking about recoup, they start looking at you funny, like, yo, why I gotta pay you? You did that because you wanted to. Word, word. I don't owe nobody nothing. I did this myself. Word? Seriously? Artists hear stuff like that, and that'll be like the straw that broke the camel's back. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. That'll be what deads them from ever wanting to attempt to rock with another new artist. I hear Fat Joe say it all the time. And I don't know if Fat Joe was 100% in the right in all of his dealings with the artists he's talking about, but I hear him say it all the time. He'll never sign another artist. I hear a bunch of artists, established artists, OGs, talk like that because they chose poorly or they chose a dude who, was ungrateful, a complete fucking ingrate, arrogant, entitled, a total headache. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. Spent a bunch of money that they never got back, and the dude wasn't even grateful that that happened. Like, and that will turn a lot of artists off from extending their hand again. I hear it all the time. I hear it said more than y'all hear it behind the scenes, behind closed doors. I hear, yo, bro, never again. I spent tons of money. And then when I came back talking about like, yo, let me get XYZ, A, B, and C, often labels and management aren't transparent about it. Fat Joe jerked Terror Squad members except for Remy. You only know that. I don't know what you know. I don't know what you know. What I will tell you is I didn't see the contract. I hear what the artists say, but I've heard what artists said when I knew better. When I did see the paperwork and I knew what they didn't do. You dig what I'm saying? I know the obligations that they had that they decided they didn't want to do, but it should be all right anyway. Like I've seen that stuff. And then you run around talking about, yo, you jerk me. And bro, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do the 3, 4 things you were supposed to do? And somebody like Joe will cut their losses. Like, I see where this is going. Oh my God, I got. I'm out. They'll cut their losses. And you say they got jerked, but who would have known you if not for that guy establishing you in the first place? You see what I'm saying? Like, don't believe everything you hear. 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 Define a slave deal. What's a slave deal? Like, let me know what the terms of the deal was before you tell me it was a slave deal. You're hearing it from the people who have gripes. I'm not telling you it's not a slave deal. What I'm saying is I have too much history in this business, and I've seen too many deals, and I've seen too many nuances and angles, and too many gripes and too many complaints. I've seen too many to take anything on at surface value. You got to show me that before I believe it was a slave deal. And three people saying it isn't enough for me at this stage of the game. It's just not. Michael Brown, salute to you. I'm not saying it. I'm not. I don't know what you know, but I'm saying if you haven't seen it, if you didn't, if you no, I'm not friends with Fat Joe. See, and that's the problem. No, I'm not friends with Fat Joe. None of these dudes are my friends. And let's be transparent. What would my friendship have to do with me telling the truth about a situation? I've also spoken on artists' behalf. That's the part maybe you're missing. None of my friends are in these situations. None of my friends are part of this conversation. But no, I'm not. I'm cool. We're cool. But me being cool with anybody has never stopped me from telling the truth about a situation. Right is right and wrong is wrong. For you to ask me that question means you don't know me at all, Playboy. I don't rock like that. I've never rocked like that. I've told people to their face that this was wrong. I've told people in the room, don't sign that. And the dude I was cool with was the one putting the paper on the table. Do not sign that. That's not a good look. Go get an attorney. And again, are you friends with Fat Joe? So you assume I'm gonna lie on behalf of him? I've never seen any deal he's ever put on the table for anybody. Neither have you. If they didn't show you the part of the contract, and I'm not saying he didn't do it, but what I'm saying is if you didn't see it, you assuming who you know the good guy and the bad guy is a bad idea. Especially flying in, bro. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. I'll do you one better. Go find me the guy that got presented with the slave deal who didn't sign it. Go find me him. Find me that guy. Find me the guy who saw the deal, said, "No, I'm not signing this," and walked off. And then let me talk to him about what the situation looked like. And then you find out it really wasn't even a slave deal. You find out that it just had some terms in it that they didn't like. And then they walked away from the table without doing any negotiating. They just assumed everything was personal and walked off. Like, bro, I wouldn't know who these people are if it wasn't for Fat Joe. And that's just a fact. And that's me. I'm not saying anybody else, but I wouldn't know who some of these guys are if it wasn't for this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. All that cost money. All that had to be paid back. I got you. A lot of people came through the math pod. I know you were the plug on some of those guests, including, yes, I have connections with a ton of people. Me making them my friend, bro, you got me fucked up. You got me fucked, especially if you think I'm gonna lie for my friends. Like, that's not how that works. Fat Joe don't come to my house. That man don't know my last name. He ain't never met my mother. You got me. You really have me fucked up, and it's a little insulting. I get a little insulted whenever somebody starts like pushing at my integrity like that. I don't take that well. It's irritating at best. You don't know me, so I'm not. Don't take this as I don't mean any disrespect, but you have to understand. In this thing, my integrity is literally all I have. It's kept me out of rooms, and it's brought me into rooms. I don't think you're disrespecting. I'm just when you say let's be transparent, that implies that I've been anything else but. I'm cool with plenty of people. I'm cool with plenty of people. I get dapped in a ton of different rooms that I go into. Thank God. Thank God. However, does that mean I'm not going to tell the truth? I've heard too many artists complain and label something a slave deal and then turn around and looked at it. I've had people say that about me. And I know I've never presented a slave deal to anyone in my life, ever. But because it didn't come with these rosy terms, or because it wasn't 100% in their favor, and 99% in their favor and 1% in mine, because I refuse to get jerked, all of a sudden I'm this other guy. Because I didn't let them steal from me, I jerked them. Because I didn't let them rob me blind, I jerked them. Because I refused to back down on certain points, I jerked them. Like, I've heard that about myself, which is why I know what it can actually be. Dead ass. I've seen people try and label me crooked of all people, and I got receipts. I just never said anything about it because I don't have to jump out of the window to prove anything to anybody. But bro, I know that artists can exaggerate, or if it don't go their way, they have a tendency to turn it into something else, because they know the general public is way quicker to believe that the guy in the suit or the guy behind the desk is the bad guy, because 60% of the time they have been the bad guy. The guy behind the desk has been the bad guy. No getting around that. A good chunk of the time. That, more often than not, the guy behind the desk has been the bad guy, but that doesn't negate predatory artists. And those exist. Those exist. Those exist, which is all I'm saying. I need to start having this on like a chat, so we can have this discussion in real time. When I start talking like this, we need to start having this. Like, if I was doing this on Twitch or stream or something, I need to start doing this in other places. But I still don't want to do it without the mechanics. The age of technology is no excuse for not knowing. You should be double checking. Yes, that's that. Jovel. Yes, that's a fact. That's a fact. Subscribe, like, share, pass this around to all the artists who think they want smoke, or think somebody is. Pass this around. I'm willing to have this conversation with anybody and everybody. You only run out of answers when you're lying. The truth can always be questioned. So I don't run from any smoke. I don't duck any kind of talk around this part. And with that said, I'm gonna let y'all get out of here. Shout out to all the mechanics worldwide. Thank y'all for pulling up. God willing, I will see you back here tomorrow at 5 p.m. when we get our daily live on. I'm your head mechanic, Mr. Mac. Let's get this car off the rack. See where we at. Hang up your coveralls. Hang up your tool belt. Oh man, push button producer. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. We don't do stuff like this more often. He says gems. Everybody. He just put gems. Um, I can honestly tell you we're keeping it 100 because of the way you spoke about your father. Bro, Calvin, I don't have a microphone to drop, but if I did, that's exactly what I'd be doing right. Let me get out of here for Calvin tears me up. You ain't going to do this to me, King. Y'all get out of here. 5 o'clock, God willing, I will see you tomorrow. We'll have some more of this talk. We got to talk about Drake's album about to drop. We got some more stuff to go up. But again, what B74 said, thank you everybody for pulling up and supporting. We're going to keep this party going. I got albums to work on. There's still announcements to make, but please keep pulling up. I'm gonna keep making it entertaining. In the meantime, in between time, it's your man, Mr. Mac, head mechanic. See y'all tomorrow. The garage is now officially closed for the evening. Y'all be safe. Peace.